So it's Sunday afternoon. I just finished harvesting and I've been completely wiped out for the last couple weeks. I haven't been able to keep up with the YouTube channel here. I sincerely apologize. We're right in the middle of the 4th expansion here for What the Fungus, and this has always been a big challenge for us, is that we're always growing and we're always scaling up, which means that we're kind of in constant construction, and maintaining production level is always very difficult. This year I'm very lucky. I got 2 employees that really know what they're doing, and they've been a big help even with the construction. So this year has been exceptionally better than the past, and we've done already 850 pounds of mushrooms in the past 3 weeks, and we have 150 pounds of mushrooms in our walk-in waiting to go out the door. This has been harvested in the last couple of days, so we've been doing about 80 to 70 pounds of mushrooms a day, and it's definitely warmed up, and that accelerates the harvest. And then today it cooled down, so I only had to harvest about 19 pounds. So I'll be able to move this product. We'll catch up with production as it warms up, and it'll just kind of keep going. We've been harvesting a lot of pearl oysters, a lot of tree oysters. We're getting a wave of king oysters coming probably for the farmers market on Saturday. And I'm playing around with some new strains. In the credits of the opening of this video, I showed an enoki strain that I've been playing around with. I also have a abalone, which is like a white king oyster variety that's just starting to fruit. So a lot of really interesting stuff that I'm playing around with on the farm right now. But most importantly, we're right in the middle of an expansion, and we're trying to get this finished so that we can start doing more production. We are pretty much at capacity already. All of our labs are all full, and we're only able to do production here, if we're lucky, twice a week. And we really need to be doing about 800 to 1200 blocks a week so that we can fill our greenhouses faster and then have more production monthly. Doesn't really matter this time of year in April because restaurants don't take too much, but that's going to all change in about 2 or 3 weeks. And I have restaurants that haven't started taking anything, and I have restaurants that are taking stuff, but they're going to take a lot more production. And I have to make sure that I don't pick up too many clients so that I can meet the demand, because restaurants, they have high expectations, and I'm okay with that. We charge a lot for our mushrooms, so meeting the demand of the chefs, of our clients, is what I am really good at. But it's also the most difficult time of year when we have overproduction and trying not to pick up too many restaurants, because I want to make sure that I can make everyone happy throughout the year. So I know in about 2-3 weeks, we're going to probably be able to move, I would say, about 250 pounds of mushrooms a week to restaurants, and then easily do about 50 to 100 pounds at the local farmers market. And then in about June, we'll pick up another farmers market, and I'll keep picking up restaurants if the production goes crazy. And we're maxing out about 1,600 pounds of mushrooms per month with our current setup, and we're looking to hit hopefully about 2,500 pounds of mushrooms per month at least twice this year. And that's kind of the goal, and then next year we're going to exceed that. So we're just working on our new sterilization design. I haven't updated you guys on that. I'll leave a link up there of the previous video for that, but we are basically working with 3 tanks, and I figured out a plastic that is going to conduct, that is not going to conduct the heat. So we're going to be able to put that on the bases of the steam coil, and it's not going to fall through our plastic tank. And we're going to be able to use the tractor that I'm getting fixed up right now. It has some forks, and it's going to be able to pick up those bins and bring them into the new lab, or at least bring them to the step of the old labs, so that we're not unloading here. This is a huge waste of time for us. And right now we're trying to use our time wisely and not waste unneeded hours where we can be doing more production on our farm and making more money. So this new sterilization design is going to increase the capacity of my farm. It's going to save us time. And then this new lab is going to allow us to have more shelf space. So I'll bring you guys in here, and I'll just kind of briefly talk about what's going on. The roof's on now. I'm going to get Clay and Simon to be working on the insulation and the plastic this week, get the floor painted hopefully, And then we still need to get a door on here, design the new air intake system for our new workbench, and then start building some shelves. So we have a 40-foot long building, and this is going to be all incubation space. And then our new workbench, we're going to have a 3-man HEPA work table, and we've been talking about how, whether or not we want to have all 3 flow hoods on at once or have the option to turn a few off. And with the old design, you have to have both on. So we're probably going to still do the same idea. We're going to have a filter cage with a coarse furnace filter below the table and one on the outside of the wall here for the intake. And we'll turn all 3 flow hoods on when we're working, and we'll possibly be able to increase the amount of fresh air coming in from outside with some diffusers. And if we only want to have 1 or 2 flow hoods on, we're just going to put probably a piece of plywood, maybe like 3/4 inch, over top of the filter of the unit we're not using, so that the motors aren't actually sucking air through the HEPA and underneath the workbench. So I'll show you that in lab 2 in a minute, what I'm talking about. But we're trying to come up with a design that gives us more flexibility, and we don't want to have each unit independent, because those custom filter cages that we get built, they're about $600, and they're just not really necessary. So we're just going to do one big table, and it's going to be, I guess, about 6 feet long and probably about 2 feet to 3 feet wide. And we'll get that all figured out in a minute. So originally we wanted to have mobile shelves that we could then, off of our workbench, load onto and then move these shelves in the back here. And we'll still probably do that eventually, but it's really come down to, do we want to spend $200 to $300 a shelf? And we need about 20 shelves here, so we're talking about anywhere between $4,000 and $7,000 just for shelving. Or we can build our standalone shelving that's in this lab, and we figure it's probably about $2,000 for about I think we were saying about 28 feet of lab space. So that's what we're probably going to do, is we're going to build the existing shelving here, and it's still very efficient. We're going to keep the lab in the front of this building functional, and then we're going to have a new lab here, so we're not walking around and wasting time. It's just, if we decide to expand this building, I'll bring you down here. We've made this so that we can expand this building if the demand is there. And we can literally go, another 40 feet or so, and then when we're inoculating in the lab all the way down there, it's going to be a lot of walking to get the bags on the shelves. So at that point, we're going to need some mobile shelves, and the company will be doing obviously very well if we're going to be expanding again, and the investment that's needed for these mobile shelves will make a lot more sense, I think, in 1 to 2 years time. So we're going to build shelves that just build right into the wall here, and if we decide to expand down the road, we're actually going to take them apart and change the design. But it's really just come down to what's necessary now. We just need to get more blocks growing in this space so that we can eventually put up probably 1 or 2 more greenhouses on pad 6 and 7. We poured those pads when our investor King and Sonia Campbell came on board in 2016, and we still are not able to produce enough production to put up 2 more greenhouses. We keep working on efficiencies, and we actually need more lab space. So that's why we're doing this now. And then when we can generate more revenue with more sales, then doing an investment for mobile shelves in the space will make a lot more sense. So I'll just bring you in lab 2 and I'll show you our workbench. So this is a double flow hood workbench where we use the table underneath as a plenum, and this actually mixes the air. So we have a filter cage here for a 16-inch furnace filter, and on the other side of the table we have another filter cage with some diffusers that we can toggle to allow a little bit of air in or a lot, and we've calibrated this so that the motors are working the way they should, and if there's any kind of air restriction, the motors will actually whistle. So with the new design in Lab 3, we're going to have 3 units. We'll probably still have the filter cage on the bottom, just one 16-inch filter cage, and then on the other side of the wall we'll probably have 3 to 4 diffusers that we can kind of tweak and figure out how much intake we want, because we want to be able to push a lot of fresh air through that building, because we're going to be incubating a lot more blocks. And then if we're only going to be using 2 of these flow hoods, we're actually going to probably just put a sheet of plywood just over top of the filters so that we can restrict air from getting sucked into the HEPA, because the motors are underneath and they'll actually pull air through these filter cages underneath the table, but they'll also pull it through the HEPA if the motor's not on. So this design we're really happy with. It's really efficient for us. We're just going to be making just a couple adjustments as we go to a bigger work table. Alright guys, thanks for watching and staying to the end of this video. I'm going to actually give away 4 of my cultures, and what I want to know is, what is your story? What are you guys doing? And how can 4 of my strains help you guys? This is what I offer for my mentorship program. I give you 4 cultures, and these are the best strains that I grow on my farm seasonally. A lot of research has gone into all of our seasonal strains, and these are the strains that I like the best for a number of reasons, and I can get into the details, whoever wins this, why these strains are so good. But basically we have our chestnut mushroom, which is 067, our elm oyster strain, which is 006, our local pearl oyster strain, which is 050, and our king oyster strain, which is 054. I always give these 4 strains to my students, and I'm just gonna give 4 of these strains to one of the comments on this video below. And all I want to know is, what is your story and how can these help? Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that video. It's always interesting seeing how my farm has developed over the years, at least through my eyes. We've always kind of had very humble beginnings. I started my business in my backyard, taken on partners and investors along the way, and we just always kind of figure it out as we go. My business is very different from a traditional mushroom farm. We're a seasonal mushroom farm here in British Columbia, and just our approach and how we do things is really different. I've written a book. If you guys haven't checked that out, I'll leave a video link right there. And if you want to see another video on just how we do things, click or tap the screen right there. We'll see you guys in the next video.